Okay, let's talk about something really personal. Something I think a lot of us feel, but maybe can't always put a name to. We're going to dive into that quiet, internal wiring that can, well, make us vulnerable to manipulation.
You know that feeling, right? That split second when someone says something or does something that just doesn't sit right with you. You feel it, like a knot in your stomach or a tightness in your chest. A little alarm bell goes off saying, hey, that's not okay. But then nothing. You swallow it down. You stay silent. You just override that gut feeling. And this is the core idea I really want to get across today. That reaction, making yourself small, staying quiet, it's not a sign that you're weak. It is absolutely not a character flaw. It's a trained response. It's something you learned, probably a long, long time ago, was the safest way to keep the peace. So let's explore that feeling a little more, that silent alarm that goes off inside us, and the huge paradox that's really at the heart of it all. And here it is. This is the brutal paradox. The very things that helped you get through a tough childhood. Being the easygoing one, being super adaptable, learning to swallow your own needs. Those exact same traits are what can make you a target for manipulation as an adult. What was once your armor is now your vulnerability.
And this is a huge misconception. People think manipulators are looking for weak people, but that's not quite right. They're scanning for something much more specific. They're looking for trained peacekeepers. They are drawn to people who learned deep in their bones that their job was to manage everyone else's emotions and keep things steady, even if it meant rocking their own boat. So that brings us to a really important turning point. If it's not about being weak, then what is the real culprit? What's actually driving this pattern? For so long, the easy answer was, oh, you just have low self-esteem. But we have to go deeper than that. This isn't just about a lack of confidence. This is about your core psychological conditioning. We're talking about pathways that were wired into your nervous system before you even had the words to describe what was happening. So let's actually break down what this survival programming is made of. There are three key psychological forces that create it. First up, there's something called parentification. This is what happens when a kid has to become the adult in the room. You become the little therapist, the mediator, the responsible one. You learn that your value comes from taking care of everybody else. And as an adult, that programming acts like a giant magnet for people who are looking for someone to take care of them. Second is hypervigilance. This is like having your internal radar on high alert 24/7. You're constantly scanning the room, reading moods, anticipating what's going to happen next. But here's the catch. That radar is always pointed outward. You become an absolute expert at sensing what other people need, but you become completely numb to your own needs until they're screaming at you. And third, we have the fawn response. Now, this one's huge. Fawning is that deep-seated instinct to immediately appease, to agree, to smooth things over. Not because you actually agree, but because your nervous system has learned that disagreeing is dangerous. For anyone who grew up in a chaotic home, fawning basically becomes your first language. I mean, we all know fight, flight, and freeze, right? But fawning is the fourth, often forgotten trauma response. It's the little program running in the background that taught you that it feels safer to lose yourself than to risk losing someone else. And here's the kicker. Manipulators don't have to create this response in you. They just have to find the people who already have it hardwired. So, okay, understanding the mechanics is one thing, but what about the emotional part of it? What's the
deep, primal fear that's actually running the whole show. This is it. This is the truth underneath it all. On the surface, you might think you're afraid of conflict or of making someone angry, but the real fear, the one that's actually in the driver's seat, is abandonment. It's the terrifying childhood belief that if you show up as your authentic self, with all your needs and your boundaries and your no's, you'll be left all alone.
And this quote from Carl Jung just nails it. Think about it. If your entire survival strategy was built on being what other people needed you to be, then the idea of just accepting yourself exactly as you are, well, that feels like the most dangerous thing in the world. To your nervous system, standing still feels like a threat because you were trained that you had to constantly adapt to be safe. Okay, so that's the problem. Where do we go from here? How do you even begin to heal from something this deep? Let's talk about the path back to reclaiming yourself. So the first step is always just recognition, just seeing it clearly. Does any of this sound familiar? Staying in relationships that just drain you, making excuses for bad behavior, feeling crushing guilt when you have to say no, pushing your own pain aside. The key here, the really big shift, is to stop seeing these as your personality flaws. They're not. They are brilliant, outdated coping strategies that kept you safe a long time ago. And the healing path, it does have steps. It's about learning to reparent that inner part of you that didn't get what it needed. It's doing the shadow work to integrate the parts of you that you were taught to hide. It's slowly, patiently rebuilding trust in your own gut instincts. It's about learning to turn all that compassion and softness you give away so freely back towards yourself. And maybe most importantly, it's about giving yourself permission to be inconvenient, to have needs, to take up space. When you boil it all down, the entire journey of healing is about reversing this one fundamental program. Your childhood taught you softness for others, boundaries for no one. The healing is in flipping that script to softness for yourself and clear, healthy boundaries for others. So if any of this has resonated with you today, I really want to leave you with this. Please hear me on this. You are never, ever weak. You are a brilliant survivor. You are conditioned to get through it in ways that unfortunately cost you your own voice. And now you are absolutely 100% allowed to take it back.